Kevin Jackson Radio Show.
Hey everybody, Kevin Jackson. It's the Kevin Jackson Show. Glad you're with me, KJRadio.com. I want to focus on something that I thought everybody possessed and learned that they didn't. Do you know what I'm talking about? It's a very simple word. It's called courage. Courage. I thought everybody had courage. I thought everybody had a breaking point. Well, they said, okay, it's on. I don't care who the toughest guy in the world is. It is now time for you and me to go man to man, hand to hand. It's on. Dude, I figured it would be something like push your child. You know, hit your kid. Hit my kid. Watch. Tell me you're the baddest guy in the world. Tell me you got a weapon, you got a knife, whatever. Hit my kid and watch what happens. You get what I'm saying? I think most parents would agree with me. I'm speaking metaphorically here. Hit somebody's kid, what do? They want to go after you. Even, I think people that don't have kids, they can relate to that. Oh, you hit my kid, I don't have any kids with you. Yeah, you don't have to have kids to feel that, but you know that's the case. Hit somebody's kid, threaten to. They don't have to have a kid. Say, look, if you had a kid and I hit your kid, what would you do? Right? I'm thinking everybody says, oh, I'd kick it. Boy, will be on like Donkey Kong, right? But it's not the case. It's not the case. People are chicken. They really are. They're inherently fight or flight. It's flight. Get out. Run. Go. Head for the hills. You know the old joke when the bears come out of the woods and the guy says, what are you doing? The guy stops, put on his tennis shoes. He says, you can't outrun that bear. And he says, I don't have to outrun that bear. I got to outrun you. And he's in the wind. That's what people do. They look at what's the easy way. How do I get out of a situation? And for the record, we are human beings. We are supposed to talk ourselves out of situations. I get that. But I'm saying when your back is against the wall, what do? I'm thinking, I grew up, and you guys know this about me. It was in my first book. I'm thinking that no matter what, you fight it out. You know what I mean? So what? There's no army behind you. But I always thought that there was an army behind me. I was convinced of that. It's funny, when I wrote my first book, I had about 2,000 people say to me, Kevin, you write a book, I'll buy the book. And we did a poll. If I write this book, will you buy it? And we did a poll on the website at the time. And 2,000 people said, you write a book, man, I'll buy that book. Shoot. So 200 books is what we sold. Out of the group of the 2,000, it was 1/10 that actually backed it up. One of my buddies, Joe the plumber, said he was going to run for public office. All the way up until the point of Joe declaring he was going to run for Congress. People like, you should run for Congress, Joe. You're an honest guy. I donate to your campaign. So Joe decides he's going to run for Congress. And he calls me up. He says, dude, where are the donations? Where are the people that said, I'll give you my 10, my 20, my 50, my $100? Non-existent. Guy couldn't raise enough money to pay make a mortgage payment. And he's going, these are the people that said they want you to do it. You're an honest man, an honest Joe, average Joe America, blah, blah, blah. Didn't donate a nickel. Look, I know it was during the time of Obama. It was rough for everybody. But don't tell people you're going to do something and not do it. To me, that's one of the things that you want to be known for, is being able to say, oh man, if so-and-so says it's going to happen. But I can tell you, and look, I'm not trying to condemn you folks. I'm not at all. But I'm going to tell you about yourselves from time to time. We talk about this conservative movement. We talk about the people we follow, the people we want to support. I question, are you being serious? Are you serious about it? Do you have the courage of commitment? There's a saying by a gentleman, he was a philosopher, a French philosopher, his name is Albert Camus, and he says, those who lack courage will always find a philosophy to justify it. And he had a thing that he called absurdity. Yeah. Widely acknowledged as the greatest philosopher of the absurd. And his idea was simple. He said human beings are caught in a constant attempt to derive meaning from a meaningless world. Now, I can apply this in so many ways, but I want you to marinate on that for a while. Meaningless world. I talked about this the other day. I get up every day. I do the same thing. I start fighting these leftists. Now, the question is why? Is it because I'm so courageous and want to fight? Oh, no, it's Kevin. He just likes to fight. Or am I trying to find meaning? And the answer is no. I already know the world is meaningless. See, if you go to the Bible and you look in the book of Proverbs and you get all the wisdom of Solomon, but then in the book Ecclesiastes, you know what Solomon says? All the stuff we do is vapor. Chasing of money, chasing of fame, chasing of whatever, it's all vapor. Because unless you believe in something bigger than you, it's all vapor. So you know what I believe in? I believe that all the effort that we put in here, though it's meaningless here, it carries through in some form. Not by my name. It isn't like the cosmos is going to be whispering, Kevin Jackson, Kevin Jackson. for the rest of infinity. I don't even care. I understand the level of insignificance I have in the world and in the world once I'm gone. It is of zero consequence, but I get up and do it every day because I think the bigger picture is important. And I believe for whatever reason, because you can't get it out of me, is that having that courage to do it, to confront it, is going to mean something somewhere else. I don't know. Maybe I am a victim of the philosophy of the absurd. But I think that many of us, while we're here, we admire the people who demonstrate courage. Who say, you know what? I know that goes against the grain. I know that's not what you believe. I know that you wouldn't do this. You wouldn't follow this course of action, whatever. I believe there are people that say that's an admirable trait. And for me, there's something, I don't know. There's something inside of that. Because I'm going to tell you something. I don't think cowards are going to spend a whole lot of time being thought of in eternity in any way, shape, or form. I don't think that's a trait you want to take with you anywhere. I'm a coward. Anyway, there's something else that was said about courage. Being deeply loved by someone gives you strength. When loving someone deeply gives you courage. And I think that the love of this country, the love of, because it isn't a philosophy for me, it's the love of the country and what it's done for me that gives me courage.
This is the Kevin Jackson Radio Show.
Do you owe back taxes to the IRS or state? The secret to avoiding the IRS nightmare is to seek professional representation. My friends at Security Tax Associates provide the most cost-effective and ethical representation in the industry while helping to avoid seizures, levies, and wage garnishments. Security Tax Associates is here to ensure that the appropriate steps are taken to permanently eliminate any possibility of future tax burdens once and for all. For a free, no-obligation consultation, contact Security Tax Associates, 844-779-4177. That's 844-779-4177. 844-779-4177. Or visit them at securitytaxassociates.com.
Beth Cook Moranville, author of Closer Than Your Breath, a book of hope.
Hope, that wonderful, wonderful 4-letter word that you may feel completely out of. I wrote this book to give you great hope. It's not too late. If fetal position is an all too familiar place for you, I understand. If the next 60 seconds are too long, this book is for you. Wherever you are right now, whether you're dealing with divorce or death or sickness, take hope. You are going to make it through this pain. Don't roll your eyes. I've walked this road and I know it. The best is yet to come.
Closer Than Your Breath, a book of hope from author and speaker Beth Cook Moranville, can be found on Amazon.com or Kindle.com. For more information, visit closerthanyourBreath.com or on Facebook at Closer Than Your Breath.
Jackson Radio Show.
Welcome back, everybody. Kevin Jackson here. We're talking about courage. It's the Kevin Jackson Show, 844-551-8255. And I read a quote from a guy. His name is Lao Tzu. And he says, being deeply loved by someone gives you strength, while loving someone deeply gives you courage. And it's such a deep thought when you think about it, because that's why when politicians do things that we like, I say to you guys, you got to tell them. You got to let them know. See, Donald Trump loves America. I know it's crazy, right? That there's a politician that actually does love the country and puts in policies, showcases that love. Well, you know what gives him strength? You pushing that back to him. I want you to think of everything that's going on. The evil that conspires against every single thing that Donald Trump does. And we're talking about insane evil. Consider, Trump's tax plan gives money back. They've already looked at these numbers. They said 91% of Americans get their money back. So 9% don't. I don't know who they are. You guys can parse the legislation yourself and take a look. But 91% get their money back. And there are people mad. There's a big faction of this country that goes, can't believe the stupid tax plan. What's it going to do, man? It's going to do. And whatever they say, it can't do worse than anything Obama did to this economy. It'll bankrupt. Well, okay, so what did Obama do? The man who called it almost treasonous for George Bush to have added so much debt, put it on the backs of the American people, doubled not only Bush's, but doubled everybody else's combined. What's he going to say? What is the left going to say about this tax plan that gives you your money back? Nothing. Anything that they would argue is a lie. It's subterfuge, but that's what they do. That's what they become, is contrarian. Why? Ideology. Too weak to just say to themselves, you know what? This is working. What's the word? Too big of a chicken? Is that the right word? Too afraid to admit that they were wrong in their assessment of Donald Trump, wrong in their assessment of his policies that have almost got the stock market at 25,000. It's already up again. Well, how should we take bets on when the stock market will reach 25,000? Anybody think it'll be more than a week? Should we take bets on when it'll get to 26,000? Should we take bets on if it will get to 26,000? Now, I don't care about the stock market. I mean, I'd like to get something out of it. But I'm saying that's not the barometer of whether or not this is a good presidency or not. It's just one of the indicators. And the fact that Trump's not using quantitative easing or printing of money to buy his way into that market. And that he's actually shored up the weak market of Barack Obama in a very short amount of time. That's what it means. But outside of that, I don't really care. Because I can look at all the other things. I can look at low unemployment. Then look at what's going to happen when we look at retail. Sometime later this month, by February, they're going to know the impact that Donald Trump's presidency, first presidency full as president, had on Christmas. And these numbers are going to blow your mind. You're going to start getting, look, we're rehashing here a bit, but it's worth it. It's worth going back over some of this ground. In the last year of Obama's presidency, he lost 17,000 manufacturing jobs and told us they wouldn't come back. Trump, in his first year, added 171,000 manufacturing jobs. So forgetting the delta, which is a pretty substantial number, just ask yourself, what do you think is going to continue to happen with manufacturing? If Donald Trump is bringing in, 15,000 manufacturing jobs per month, while Barack Obama was losing 17,000 manufacturing jobs in his last year. He lost 17,000 jobs in his last year, and Donald Trump is creating 15,000 a month. I mean, those are some numbers. There's a saying, it takes courage to grow up and become who you really are. And the difference between that statement applied to Donald Trump and applied to Barack Obama couldn't be more, you couldn't show a bigger dichotomy. Barack Obama never grew up. You know, do you think Barack Obama wants you to know who he really is? Be honest. Do you think you got the full story about him? The answer is no. I'm just going to help you here. But Donald Trump says, here's my story. I filed bankruptcy. You remember when I'll never forget this. He says, yeah, I had, look, there's some bad guys I was doing business with. Yeah, we lost money, but they weren't, he was literally throwing his partners under the bus. And I thought, this guy doesn't even know how to answer a question. Because it reached out to people on the campaign and said, why would he say that? He should have said, yeah, we had some winners and some losers. And, it pains me to file bankruptcy because it means that we weren't successful. It means that we've got to take a loss, and I'm not used to that. But I had a lot more wins and losses. But he didn't say that. He goes, there were some bad guys I was dealing with, and you know what? They took a hit. Big deal. That's the way business is. And what he was saying is that's life in the big city, buddy. That's the life in the fast lane. Get over it. He wasn't trying to placate us because it would sound good. Now, between you and me, I think mine still sounds better. But I no longer look at what he said as like, wow, that was really stupid. No, it wasn't. It was him saying, here's what I am. I wasn't dealing with choir boys. I'm dealing with people that we're all trying to make money. And in those 4 instances where I had to file bankruptcy, every one of us took a bath. And it wasn't like these guys were, Mother Teresa and we didn't get to feed the widows and orphans. These people have plenty of money. And we lost. We made a bet. We rolled the dice, whatever you want to use whatever metaphor you want. We lost. And they're going to be better. They're okay for it. I'm okay for it. That was the way business works. But Barack Obama would have put a nice little thing on it. Because he wouldn't have had the courage to tell you, you know what? I lost. Big deal. He'd have to make it sound, well, it wasn't really a loss. I mean, you got to understand, it's not a loss there. The way things work, people came in, they bought it up, and of course, I worked very hard to make sure that he'd give you 50,000 who shot Johns without telling you anything. The only thing he would want to make sure that you understood was how great he was. Trump so what? I filed bankruptcy. That's what the laws are there for. You remember him saying that? You guys remember that? He says that's what the laws are there for. I took advantage of the laws. And he says, but you know what? Maybe that shouldn't have happened. Maybe that's why I'm put here in this place at this time to explain to you that those laws shouldn't exist. We shouldn't burden you with my ability to take the risk. Yeah, should business people be able to take a risk? They certainly should. Laws are written so with the people that want to get out there with the courage to do so can do it. But we got to balance that with what's good for the public good. The greater good. And not that leftist greater good. Courage. That's what we're talking about. And we're going to we got a lot to talk about. Pakistan and super meat, if we get to that. I hope we do. Hang in there, folks. We'll be back in a bit.
This is the Kevin Jackson Radio Show. The Kevin Jackson Radio Show.
Welcome back, everybody. Kevin Jackson here. We got a ton to talk about. New revelations with the FBI, what they've discovered about these crooked Clintons, this crooked FBI. Congressional investigators have uncovered a lot of things. And I'm just telling you, this year is going, from a political perspective, this year is when you get to put on the big boy pants. And you don't need a cup. You don't need a mouthpiece because you've been honed for battle, and you don't need a shield. All you need is your sword because you're not going to get touched. Welcome everybody to the Kevin Jackson Show. I'm so overjoyed to be able to share everything that I'm learning day in and day out because, that's what I do. I study this stuff now every single day. And by the way, thanks for those who write to me saying, Kevin, we want to see more of you on Fox. Look, I know. I appreciate that. it's a lot of work. And here's what I mean by that. They call me up. They say, Kevin, we want you to come on. They want me to go on Fox and Friends this weekend. I got a note, I don't know, probably Tuesday of this week. Kevin, can you come on? I said, yeah, I can do whatever day. So I don't know if I'm going to go on or not, but that's what happens. And then so I don't even know what the topic is. But here's what I do. I can tell you. I have to make sure I have my dry cleaning out of the dry cleaning, the place. And I have to make sure I've got shirts that fit. And I have to look at my wardrobe. And then I know it's going to be an hour to an hour and a half before they want me at the studio. So I have to be there early. It's 3 hours out of my life to appear on TV for 3 to 5 minutes. Just to put it in perspective. Now, it also means I have to prep. I have to go in and go, what's the topic? Oh, it's this topic. What do I know about it on the surface? How deep do I want to go? And then, of course, it's all overkill because you're only going to get about a minute if you're lucky to talk on TV. You guys have seen these interviews. So it's almost like, wow. Now, it's better when I'm on Outnumbered or something like that, and I will be doing more of that stuff too. But I'm just saying it's a big hassle to go on. But I do appreciate you guys saying, Kevin, we want to see more of you. But wow, it takes a bite out of my day. It really does. So here's what I want to talk about. The subject today we're talking about is courage. And I wrote a piece that said 2018 is going to be a bloodbath for the Democrats. And I started that piece out by telling you that the left tell you their fears by what they brag about. And it's a truth. There is no pure courage on the left. Let me explain. And I talked about this, and I always talk about it. The left can't win a straight election. They will not do an election, put their eggs in the basket of an election by saying, let's just do it on the up and up. Let's not get felons to vote. Let's not get illegal. Let's make sure there's no felons, no illegals, and no fake people getting driver's licenses if we say they can get them, or let's not check voter ID. If any of that occurred, they'd have a tough time winning their votes in the city, much less where it's purple or certainly red. Pardon me. They'd struggle. And they know this. Anyway, Chris Wallace, who's a leftist, I know he's on Fox News, and everybody thinks everybody thinks because you're on Fox, you're a conservative. But Chris Wallace actually said last year that the Republicans could lose 40 seats in the House. He was on Shepard Smith reporting. It wasn't Shepard Smith who was hosting. And he gave this fake news narrative of doom and gloom for the 2018 elections. And he pointed to these recent Democrat wins in Virginia, gubernatorial elections, and the Senate special election. And he did exactly what Paul Begala did, and I played the clip of the other day. He's using these elections these other elections as the litmus test, which means he wholly ignores all the other evidence. And the only way I could describe it is, you go into imagine you're a police officer and you go into a crime scene and everybody's been shot and you see a knife laying over there with no blood on it, a machete, but it's got no blood on it, but it's in the middle of all these people who've been shot. And you walk over and you go, well, this is probably going to be the murder weapon. That's the only thing that comes to mind. I could come up with more stuff if I was thinking on the fly and not thinking on the fly. But that's how ridiculous this is to me. And here's what he says, because I want you to understand how stupid even guys like Chris Wallace, how they sound. So he says, you see a very energized Democratic base, especially among suburban women, young people, and minorities. Now, I'm going to stop just for a second and ask you this. What in the world do you think has happened since 2016, November 2016, that's energized suburban women, young people, and minorities? Name me one thing. Is the Bernie Sanders effect in play? We'll talk about Bernie later, too. He made an interesting New Year's tweet. But what's that? Are women energized over Hillary Clinton? What? Has Donald Trump taken away their ability to get abortions? What are these? There's nothing to point to this. But hey, at least he went further than Begala, who just said it's these elections that they should be weighing themselves on. But he says they're energized. And he says we're an eternity away. It's 11 months, but it's going to be a tough election for Republicans. And obviously, any effort for the president to pass his agenda would really be put in jeopardy were Nancy Pelosi and the Democrats take back control of the House. That has 0% chance of happening. You heard it here. But Wallace isn't the only guy. This is a strategy for the left, folks. I read this piece on 538, which is, supposedly talks about the number of people that we care about in politics, 538 people. House, the Democrats, and the presidency. And it said, Democrats had a really good night on Tuesday, claiming Virginia and New Jersey gubernatorial races, flipping control of the Washington State Senate, and possibly also Virginia House of Delegates, passing a ballot measure in Maine that would expand Medicaid, winning a variety of mayoral elections around the country, and gaining control of key executive seats in suburban New York. Now, what's funny, key executive seats in suburban New York, leftists. Mayoral elections, what do they think? Where do you think mayors are? They're in big cities. Who runs big cities? Leftists. Everything they point at is obvious. And then I love this. In this particular article, they said, and then they're dealing with a president who's got a 38% approval rating. CNN gave the following talking points. The signs are everywhere. President Trump is at 37% approval nationwide. Democrats have a massive edge in the generic ballot, including a 14-point lead in the new CNN national poll. Deep divisions exist within the GOP between Trump's right wing, the Trump wing, and the establishment wing. Political prognosticators are starting to take notice. That's what they wrote. Now, I'll ask you this question. You got all these Republicans who were anti-Trump, did not want Trump as president, and so on and so forth. And President Trump, the one that the left would describe as the craziest guy on the planet, shouldn't have his hand on the nuclear button of the football, was a warmongering. By the time he was going to be in office for 3 months, we were supposed to be at war with Russia, North Korea, China, and Iran. And on and on. I could go on. And he got 100% of the Republicans to support his tax plan. Now, that's the rift that they're talking about. For the record, the reason that the Democrats will lose in 2018 and again in 2020 is very simple. Not a single one of them voted for President Trump's tax plan. That's the first one. The second part of it is none of them have been supportive of President Trump's agenda in general, and there is not going to be a bigger backfire in political history than that. They tried to make Obamacare. Remember when they tried to make Obamacare? It was the tipping point. If you didn't favor it, it would put you in trouble during your elections and all that. Nothing. If you were against Obamacare as a Republican, you got elected. If you were for it as a Democrat, there was no guarantee you were going to get elected. It was one of the biggest marketing nonsense, political agenda items in a long time, because it was completely misstated, and still is, by the way. The tax plan, not the same. If you didn't support the tax plan, you are in danger. So I think it was 48 or something, whatever the number, 47, 48 Democrats that did not support in the Senate. And what do we have? Quite a few senators on the left, 20 something that are going to be up for re-election, 24, 25 that are Democrats. They're all in trouble. Every single one of them. Any of the Congress people who didn't vote for Donald Trump's tax reform going to be in trouble. And the only thing that the Republicans are going to have to worry about is where do they put their emphasis? What sacred cow do you want to make burgers out of? Because the Democrats are going to be in big trouble over this issue. Democrats are over the moon at their prospects, but they seem to think that they're going to clear the tables and get themselves a Trump impeachment or something else. It's not going to happen. Anyway, I'll talk a little bit more about this when we come back, and we'll cover a few more issues.
Kevin Jackson on the Black Sphere Radio Network.
Do you owe back taxes to the IRS or state? The secret to avoiding the IRS nightmare is to seek professional representation. My friends at Security Tax Associates provide the most cost-effective and ethical representation in the industry while helping to avoid seizures, levies, and wage garnishments. Security Tax Associates is here to ensure that the appropriate steps are taken to permanently eliminate any possibility of future tax burdens once and for all. For a free, no-obligation consultation, contact Security Tax Associates, 844-779-4177. That's 844-779-4177. 844-779-4177. Or visit them at securitytaxassociates.com.
Putting an end to identity politics. This is the Kevin Jackson Radio Show.
Welcome back, everybody. Kevin Jackson here, talking about the courage to face 2018 and the Democrats pretending to have courage by saying all these things that are going to be good for them for 2018 and the elections coming up, when in fact they are so fearful. They're talking about all the GOP splintering and all these different things that are going on, and they're going to try to put the fear into you that, oh my gosh, Donald Trump's going to bankrupt this. You're not going to have a job. This economy is going to stink, and our foreign policy is reckless, and we're going to be in all these wars. And all that rhetoric leading up to where they are is going to be the problem. There's a guy's name is Christopher Cantrell, and he wrote a piece, and he was talking about, you know, all the things that the Democrats have hung their hats on. One in particular is that they are going to impeach Donald Trump. Now, you know, that's already, I mean, that's so last year, right? And it had no chance then. It certainly doesn't have any chance now. But it's only going to get worse for him. See, by November, the Mueller investigation will be even more compromised. And I'm going to share some things with you. I'm not going to do it this segment, but in the next hour, that are going to show you that this Mueller investigation is become a joke in and of itself. The Podesta boys. Anybody want to tell me when's the last time you heard a story about the Podesta boys? I want you to remember this. On October 31st, John Podesta essentially said, Donald Trump's trying to tie me to the Russian investigation. No, John Podesta, you're tying yourself to the Russian investigation because you guys started this whole thing on Trump. Now, when it first came out, I told everybody, this is going to bite the Democrats in the butt. But that's what happened. The day before Podesta then said there was a conspiracy against him with Trump to tie him to the Russians, his brother resigns from the company, the Podesta Group. They effectively scuttled it. Now, why would you scuttle your company? That's where your money is made. That's where your bread is being buttered. They scuttled it. Mueller then said, you know what? I have to take the investigation into the Podesta Group. So he starts investigating the Podesta Group. This is a man who's looking for ties to Russia from Trump. He's now looking for ties from Russia to Podesta. Now, what's Podesta got to do with Trump? Nothing. Here's the irony. Manafort at the time was in cahoots with Podesta in dealing with Ukraine. That's the connection. Those two were working together. And as we all know, John Podesta is what? Hillary Clinton's former campaign manager. There's nothing to point to Trump. So there's no impeachment. There is no Russian collusion. The investigation now points back at whom? At the Clinton people. This is so crazy. So now this counter narrative of an administration interfering with the opposition party's campaign in a way makes Watergate, which I've been saying this for a long time, Watergate looks like nothing in comparison to what these people are doing. And what's going on with the economy? Talked about it before. If you think the economy's good now, wait till November. I don't remember what the numbers were. I think we came out of 2017 at 24,006 and change. The other day when I asked about the stock market, it was 24,008. It's already up a couple hundred points. There's hardly a person in America that isn't betting that the stock market's going to continue to rise. The stock market will probably get Conservatively, another 15% bump this year. Don't be surprised if it's 20 to 25. Put some money in there and watch what happens. So liberals, for any leftist to believe that they're going into 2018 in a position of strength, and particularly in the election cycle, they are brain dead morons. Corporate tax cut wasn't intended as a cheap way to get votes. It wasn't intended as some benefit for employees that's only temporary or whatever. It was meant to spur the economy, to inspire people to invest and put money back in, etc. It is not meant to be a temporary fix to curry favor. And that's what the left doesn't understand about Donald Trump. This isn't like something where he's like, people, this will make people feel good. They got a couple of extra bones in their pocket. He sees this as the fundamental restructuring of this economy back to the way it was. Anyway, when corporations start doing things like buying back their stock, when they did in the Obama years, with the taxes and regulations and headwinds from leftists, sue and settle shenanigans, they had nothing better to do with their money than to put it back into the companies. Go back and look. If you don't believe me, go back and look at the number of corporations during the time of Obama who did stock buybacks. They said, you know what, we don't have anywhere to put this money. So let's put it back into the company. Let's not put it into R&D. Let's not put it in expansion. Let's not put it into new products. Let's not put it into whatever, marketing. And now go look at all the companies now. We've got a handful just from the tax rebate that said, here you go. And go. I'm just telling you, when you look at the number of people who now start investing more money in R&D, new products, marketing, etc., it'll blow your mind. And 35% corporate tax rate gone, 21% tax rate, expensing of capital expenditures is going to radically change the behavior of corporations, and it's going to put them back into that mode, what I'm going to call beast mode, where you feel like, okay, we can finally, let this engine loose. Take the governor off of this engine. We can let it rip. We got the right tires. We got the right drivetrain. We got the right everything. We got it all. We got our fuel mixture just right. We're ready to drag on down, drag race. Hit those kind of speeds. Anyway, establishment Republicans got the message. They're on board. Democrats are starting to, even look at this and go, wait a minute. I can't tell you. Who was it? There was somebody just recently, it was like a real departure from the norm. But it was somebody that was like, I got to give it to Trump. This has just been amazing. I don't remember who it was, so it's no sense focusing on it. But I'll tell you this. There was a high-level Democrat, a person who I would call either anti-Trump or would never have voted for Trump, who said recently, I got to hand it to this guy. He's been miraculous. But the Republican the establishment around these anti-Trumpers, they know the difference between Donald Trump and George Bush. Think about it. How many of us went into when George Bush beat Al Gore and we were like ecstatic? Yay, we got us a Republican in there. And now we know what we know about George Bush. And forget what you know about George Bush from a ideological perspective. Just look at the results of where Trump is versus Bush and ask yourself, would you even mention this guy's name in good company? It's a slap in the face to mention Trump's name with Bush in terms of comparison, because Donald Trump has outperformed this guy in droves. Why even make the comparison? And so every time we talk about this subject, you know what I remind people of? What it means to be a winner. See, it takes courage to say, I'm going to take a group of people who don't like me, who are fighting against me, and I'm going to turn them my way. And that's what Donald Trump did. And he did it by being a winner. See, when you have the courage of your convictions, people leave you alone. I could tell you story on story where a person said, it doesn't matter what the circumstances are, but where a person said, I don't care what you think. This is what I believe. You're not changing my mind. And people, well, you can watch their body language. They back off like, wow, he's serious. Yeah, serious. I think about how these Republicans have learned this new thing that they've never. I can tell you if you've been into politics for 30 years, you've learned nothing new. You don't understand what it's like to be a winner. You go along to get along. I'm talking about even as Republicans, you go along to get along. But I smile when I relive November the 8th, 2016, the night that the Democrats thought Hillary Clinton was going to get coronated. They had no concept of losing. They'd won for 8 years, so why should things be different? And the loss provided the left with an eye-opening, brain-engaging experience because it had been 16 years since they felt anything close. And that was when Bush beat Gore. But that loss didn't compare to this one. And interestingly, they ignored all these other signs like I've talked about before. And since his election, President Trump has had the courage to reverse almost every major Obama policy. EPA decimated as the U.S. shifted its energy policies back. He rolled back the EPA, gutting Obamacare. He released an estimated $2 trillion back into the economy. Now he gets his tax cuts. What the Democrats predicted was Armageddon, the cry of woe that has become so standard now for them, nobody hears it. And now they're going to get their butts kicked.
He won't stop until he's the top-rated radio talk show host in America.
What kind of weird competitive freak are you?
This is the Kevin Jackson Radio Show. This is the Kevin Jackson Radio Show.
Welcome, everybody. Kevin Jackson here. It's the Kevin Jackson Show. James Comey said in 2018, we need more ethical leadership. And I chuckled to myself and said, you are so right, you crooked former FBI director. We certainly do need more ethical leadership. And thank God we've got Donald Trump at the helm. It's so funny to watch these people spin on themselves. Welcome, everybody. Happy New Year to you. 2018 is here. It is the year for conservatives to make the most substantial gains in our history. We had an amazing 2017, but that was just getting started. We are now at a place where year two of the recovery, the renaissance of old America, the one that was making all the strides that make us the envy of the world. Well, look, we aren't the newest anymore. Dubai's putting gold on everything. They think they can shine it all up and make it look pretty, and that's going to do it. How many people fight to get to Dubai? Somebody give me a number. Do you think hundreds of thousands of people are going, man, if I could only get to Dubai, that would be the end. That would be freedom for me. There's no, who says that anywhere in the world? How pretty is it? How shiny is it? There are some gorgeous places to live. I lived in China. You guys have no idea the beauty you can find in a place that large. Stunning stuff that you don't see anywhere in the world. I have traveled throughout Africa. There's nobody clamoring to get to China or Africa, I promise. But they clamor to get here, despite what the left tells you. It's horrible over there. They mistreat black people. They're terrible with women. And boy, do they hate the Mexicans. That's okay. I still want to come. It's okay for me. And it cracks me up because they sell us as such a, I mean, would you want a leftist to be the Chamber of Commerce for America? That's what we had. We had Hillary Clinton and John Kerry. They were the marketing arm for America. John Kerry, who says that, I remember when the troops would go into Vietnam and raze entire villages, raping and killing all the children, even the pets had to watch out. I mean, John Kerry, he comes back. You would think we are the worst people on the planet. Hey, don't misunderstand me. There's some soldiers that did some bad things over there. And I don't, did everybody get punished that deserve to be punished? I don't know. Doubtful. But I'll tell you what, as much as I don't condone that type of thing, I know the inherent goodness of America, and it's sad to say, but it more than makes up for the atrocities of a few people. Because I tell you what, Show me whatever atrocity you want to show me. I'll show you a country, practically every country in the world, who's committed that or worse. And certainly hasn't done what it takes to atone. Because that's what we do. See, that's one of the definitions of courage. And courage is our theme for the show today. Courage is the ability to atone. He totally detoned that man. He kicked him out of office, I tell you. Detone. We atone for our bad deeds. America does, and we own up to it. We have the courage to say, I was bad. How many countries do you know have the courage to say slavery was bad? And we've built a country that now magnifies black. You can do whatever you want. Let me tell you, as bad as it was as a slave, now you get to become president. I don't know many countries that have that big of a transition. Has there ever been an Aboriginal who's the Prime Minister of Australia? I doubt it. Has there been any abused group that runs England? Are they going to substitute somebody out for king and queen just for a couple of years? Let some black people have it. I don't think so. Look at all these Muslim countries charging, taxes and raping and pillaging and all that. But by the way, in case you didn't know it, there's not a country that did not explore, from the Persians, the Vikings, all of them. They go conquer lands, and you know what they did? They raped the women and killed the men, killed the kids sometimes, maybe not, and stole all the goodies. But America's the only one that's got to pay. And not that we're doing that, by the way. We fought a lot of wars, and the types of atrocities that we had, and even wars like Vietnam, the Vietnam conflict. Nothing like it. We evolve all the time. The United States is one of the only countries in the world that has evolved out its evil and continues to do good. And you know what reintroduces evil? Leftists. Think about what we were before we allowed this Muslim invasion. We were much safer. Think about what we were before we started placating silly Negroes all over the planet, going, oh, black people have an excuse to go out and kill and rape and murder and whatever else because they don't have any daddies or whatever. The crime rate. If you took terrorism, the black teen crime rate out of America, we would be not only a jewel, we would have money to burn. You could give out $20 bills on campfires and on top of making s'mores and burn money. That's how much you'd have left, because you wouldn't have black folks having to complain, bitch and moan all the time about, oh, we ain't getting in our neighborhoods and all that, because the neighborhoods would be safe. The schools would be better. All the ills of black society go away when you get rid of all of the black thugs that walk the streets. Now, I'm not telling you these are all bad kids, because they're not. Some of these kids just need a break. They need opportunity. And thankfully, in 2018, those little nappy-headed rascals are going to get it. They're going to get a break. They're going to get jobs. They may even get a daddy. Yeah, they may even get a plugged-in mother who gets a better job, who I don't know, figures out a way to make things better for her family. Hopefully, she finds a good guy who's got a job. Things are improving. That's where we are. But yeah, crooked James Comey says, we're going to have more ethical leadership. And his tweet caused a stir in social media. Social media. Where am I coming up with these words? And you know what's funny? Here's the cool thing. I'm catching myself doing it, because normally I don't. I'd say that, and people would say, Kevin, what's social media? I go, what are you talking about? You said that. No, I didn't. But I have the courage of leadership to say, yes, I did today. I said that. So Comey got beat down when he made that comment. More ethical leadership. A guy who is embroiled. Let me make a prediction for Comey. To jail in 2018. People are, Kevin, you're crazy. They never send anybody to jail. That's country's outlaw. Yeah, and I'll tell you, we're turning the corner. You don't have to believe me, but we're turning the corner. I know it. And I'm loving it. I bet you are too. When we come back, I want to talk more about the firestorm that Comey lit, what people said about it. We got a ton to talk about. Pakistan, Russian collusion, more proof that the FBI did not do what they were supposed to with Hillary Clinton.
This is the Kevin Jackson Radio Show.
Do you owe back taxes to the IRS or state? The secret to avoiding the IRS nightmare is to seek professional representation. My friends at Security Tax Associates provide the most cost-effective and ethical representation in the industry while helping to avoid seizures, levies, and wage garnishments. Security Tax Associates is here to ensure that the appropriate steps are taken to permanently eliminate any possibility of future tax burdens once and for all. For a free, no-obligation consultation, contact Security Tax Associates, 844-779-4177. That's 844-779-4177. 844-779-4177. Or visit them at securitytaxassociates.com.
Beth Cook Moranville, author of Closer Than Your Breath, a book of hope.
Hope, that wonderful, wonderful four-letter word that you may feel completely out of. I wrote this book to give you great hope. It's not too late. If fetal position is an all too familiar place for you, I understand. If the next 60 seconds are too long, this book is for you. Wherever you are right now, whether you're dealing with divorce or death or sickness, take hope. You are going to make it through this pain. Don't roll your eyes. I've walked this road and I know it. The best is yet to come.
Closer Than Your Breath, a book of hope from author and speaker Beth Cook Moranville, can be found on Amazon.com or Kindle.com. For more information, visit closerthanyourBreath.com or on Facebook at Closer Than Your Breath.
This is the Kevin Jackson Radio Show.
Welcome back, everybody. Kevin Jackson here. James Comey tweeted at the new year, "Here's hoping 2018 brings more ethical leadership focused on truth and lasting values." And I couldn't agree with him more. We were so happy to be done with his crooked FBI agency, something that we will explore more deeply in 2018, and he will eat a healthy dose of crow. Everybody said, it was a swipe at the president. Oh, sure, that's one way to look at it. That was James Comey. He was taking a swipe at Donald Trump. No, he wasn't. That was James Comey reminding us who he is. I tell you, leftists will point the finger at somebody knowing that it's who they're really talking about. The man who led the most corrupt FBI in history. Social media ploy, attempting to distort the narrative. Maybe in the past he could have gotten away with something like that, but he can't do it now. You want to know why? Because it's a new day, baby. It's 2018, year 2 of the Renaissance, year 2 of the recovery, year 2 of the America we all used to know and love. You know what year 1 was like, don't you? Come on now. High five. Let's slap each other. High five. Radio high five. Thank you for that one, but I'm going to give the radio people a high five. Booyah. Because we know not to trust the media. We know that James Comey, despite what the left tries to go, oh, he's a very straight-laced dude or whatever. No, he isn't. He's a crook. Obvious crook. And he was testing the water to see what people would say if he put that out there. And social media was unkind, to say the least. One Twitterer said, well, that started with your removal. Another guy said this, Lordy, how could you type that with a straight face? See, we've documented extensively how Comey covered for the Clintons. And that one of President Trump's most brilliant first moves was the firing of James Comey. And here's what we wrote about him at the time. We said he's a deep water swamp denizen who's been highly paid to deliberately provide cover for high-level corruption by the Clintons and Obama. He's been central to trying to destroy the Trump campaign and then the Trump administration from the start. He's as dirty as they come in D.C. Comey had the highest level cover, the FBI no less. and was deep into the efforts to eliminate Donald Trump. Trump had to move hard. He had to move fast. And at exactly the right time to cut the head off the snake without getting bitten or being finished by the other swamp denizens, that's what he did. See, what you may not remember, President Trump fired Comey when Comey was away, 3,000 miles away on a U.S. jet, on a federal jet, flying to some event. Donald Trump fired him and then went into his office and started confiscating materials. Comey landed and they said, you're going to be taking a private jet home, your own jet. You're not flying back as part of the United States government. And Comey was shocked. He was like, what's going on here? What? Pretended he didn't really know. Another Twitter person responded to Comey's tweet, and he said this: you are a proud member of the Clinton crime family. You worked day and night to corrupt the FBI. See, when Comey put out that tweet at Happy New Year 2018, he was looking for more ethical leadership in government. He was fishing. He was hoping that he was going to get this cacophony of, oh, you're amazing, Mr. Comey. We love you. Thank you for your support. Thank you for your service. That's what they said. Thank you for your service. Oh, there was some of those. I'm not going to lie. But I'll tell you what, for a guy who has his own little social media following, when that came out, he got blasted. At least half of the people are saying to him, you're a crook, and we know it. I tweeted back and said, nice try, Comey. You're going to prison. A lot of people are getting it, folks. They know not to trust this FBI. A guy by the name of Jacob Wall, I don't know what he does, but he's got a check mark. He is the one who said that. Yeah, so let me talk about this. See, Comey, again, going back to his days when he started covering for the Clintons, he was a minor assistant U.S. attorney in the late 90s. He gained power and money by being the DOJ official who, quote, investigated and cleared Bill Clinton of any wrongdoing in the Clintons' total corrupt pardon for huge payoffs of the criminal financier, a guy by the name of Mark Rich, as Clinton was leaving the presidency. So this is how Comey began his career as a swamp creature, as a servant of the Clintons. He said that Bill Clinton didn't do anything wrong by clearing Mark Rich and giving him a pardon, et cetera, et cetera. So what Comey did was he provided cover when the Clintons pardoned a billionaire money launderer, arms dealer, and a criminal. Then it got better for him. See, he upped his game. When the Clintons gained incredible wealth through their foundation after leaving the White House, a huge part of that scheme was giving Mark Rich a free pass when he should have been in prison. And Comey covered that up for him. And this set him up to be part of that corrupt machine that made him powerful and made him wealthy. So, fast forward, 2015, early 2016, information began to come around about the Clinton Foundation and its use by the Clintons as a multi-billion-dollar slush fund for corruption and political favors. Even Chelsea's wedding was paid out of the charity. Now, Hillary, is beginning her, overtures as I'm going to be running for president here pretty soon. And, I'm gaining my power and my momentum and I got a lot of money. So it got revealed that the Clinton Foundation hadn't completed its required reports or had an audit. Supposedly, the FBI under Comey began an investigation of the Clinton funds. A, quote, professional accounting firm was brought in by the Clintons to do the review. They filed some reports, made recommendations to the Clinton Foundation board, and provided this veneer of legitimacy that the Clinton Fund operates on the up and up. And predictably, one of the partners in that firm was chosen and paid a lot of money was James Comey's brother. He got, his brother at the time, I believe, owed $700,000 for a loan that James had given him to buy a house. And some of that money, we're told, came from the Clinton Fund and was used to make payments on that loan. 2 years later, nothing happened. The result of the FBI investigation said that the Clintons were okay. They got a clean bill of health. Yeah. So I predict that Comey's going to be inside some jail cells here in 2018. I think that Eric Holder, who tweeted something else out about the ethics of the FBI, it's unquestioned, and then threatened Donald Trump. If you fire Mueller, it'll be blah, blah, blah. And Donald Trump's like, shut up. Get back. We'll go to wherever you knuckleheads go, because he's not even worried about them. Mueller is backed himself into a corner of his own choosing. And there's only one way out for him. He's got to come clean. Anyway, we got a lot more coming up. I'm going to tell you what we won't tolerate in 2018, and I bet you won't either.
This is the Kevin Jackson Radio Show. This is the Kevin Jackson Radio Show.
Welcome back, everybody. Kevin Jackson here. We got proof. Definitive proof. The Russian narrative. Definitely, unquestionably fake news. We've been talking about this for the better part of three or 4 days. Proof. They brought in Papadopoulos, and I love the left, because when you read all their stuff, I go over it periodically just to check them out. And it's like they've pinned their hopes on such nonsense. I find it difficult to believe, honestly. They pin their hopes on so much nonsense. And they pinned it on this guy, Papadopoulos. And as if we needed any more proof that Donald Trump has no connection at all to the Russians, we get the proof, guess what? From Obama's government. Link to the Justice Files. This is a federal government website. And you see Papadopoulos' testimony about Donald Trump and the Russians. It's right there for your eyes to see. It was done filed on October the 5th. They knew this. And it turns out Donald Trump turned down proposed meetings with the Russians. And it's a 14-page document. As I was looking over the document, I kept thinking, Papadopoulos may have been trying to set up Trump. I don't know his background. I don't know how he came to be. Is he a Hillary Clinton person or whatever? I don't know. I really don't. But here's what Donald Trump tweeted. This from special counsel says Russian professor tried for months to arrange, and this wasn't from Trump. I apologize. This was from Cheryl Atkinson. She says, they tried for months to arrange a meeting between Donald Trump and the Russians during the 2016, an open invitation, but Trump not interested. No meeting. And there's nothing new in this story from what we already know. Now, you might go, well, Kevin, you say that, but we didn't have any proof. You're right. We didn't have any proof other than the man's word. Donald Trump saying, I didn't meet with the Russians. What? For what? And also, we have what Sessions went through in answering questions once or twice before Congress saying, what are you talking about? I didn't disclose I had a meeting with a Russian. Just because somebody happens to be in the same room with me doesn't mean I had a meeting with them. Did you remember how ridiculous that looked? God, it's crazy. So what's funny, I get bored with this conversation because what am I going to tell you? Donald Trump turned over all of his emails. He turned over the emails of Junior. Anything related to the matter, here you go. But George Papadopoulos, when he got, George Papadopoulos, he's singing like a canary. Well, what could he possibly say that isn't going to be refuted? Yeah, they're saying he's snared in this probe. Okay. Unlike the left who play the games of who's going to be the scapegoat this time, Donald Trump's like, if George Papadopoulos is guilty, then let him go. No problem. I'm not giving him, a pardon. I'm not bailing him out. He is what he is. Anyway, they said this. This is what Sarah Huckabee Sanders said at the time. She says that the Trump campaign deserved credit for turning over all of Papadopoulos' emails that reveal false statements to the FBI about dealings with Russia. Now, what did Papadopoulos do? He spouted off at the mouth. This is why you know he's not a high-level guy. Because let me explain to you how you get higher up in an organization. You want to know? You want to know the secret? You guys want to know? Because y'all have reached the ceiling. You're at the pinnacle. My producers are at the pinnacle. You want to know why? Because they've been vetted. They can be trusted. Even though I do know one of them stole my, what's that bar I eat? It's like a Reese's bar. One of y'all, I know. That's okay. Don't try to get out of it. But other than that, if you can't leave chocolate around, but they're trustworthy. You can say things to them. We go off air. We talk. Boy talk. Locker room chatter. They're looking at me like, what? So anyway, Papadopoulos, he's popping off at the mouth. He's Papadopoulosing off at the mouth. He's like at a bar. He's drunk and he's having a conversation with an Austrian. Yeah, so I was arranging these meetings with Donald Trump because I'm such a bigwig. You know, I do have the president's ear. He listens to me. But, I don't know what the guy said. I'm just I'm riffing here. I'm going with the flow. But that's probably something like it. Anyway, the Trump administration gave 20,000 pages of documents, turned them over to the investigative team, said, here you go. And by the way, if you need anybody else, let us know, because we will cooperate with you fully, Mr. Donald Trump. Even the anti-Trump fake news Washington Post admitted, this was back in March, that then candidate Trump rejected meetings with the Ruskies, the Russians. 3 days after Trump named his campaign foreign policy team in March of 2016, the youngest of the new advisors sent an email to 7 campaign officials with the subject line, meeting with Russian leadership, including Putin. The advisor was George Papadopoulos, who offered to set up a meeting between him and the Russian leadership to discuss U.S.-Russia ties under President Trump. He told them that Russian contacts welcomed the opportunity to meet with him. And they said the Trump campaign got concerned. It sent a ripple through the campaign about this meeting. And he says the campaign co-chair, Sam Clovis, wrote that he thought NATO allies should be consulted before any plans were made. Another Trump advisor, retired Navy Rear Admiral Charles Kubik, cited legal concerns, including a possible violation of U.S. sanctions against Russia and of the Logan Act, which prohibits U.S. citizens from unauthorized negotiations with foreign governments. But Papadopoulos, a campaign volunteer with scant foreign policy experience, persisted, and between March and September, the self-described energy consultant sent at least a half dozen requests for Trump as he turned from the primary to the actual candidate for the Republicans, or for members of his team to meet with the Russian officials. He was pretty much, if they could just get an audience with you, that's all they need. So you can almost see this is symbolic. It isn't that they're planning on accomplishing a whole lot, because Donald Trump hasn't had time to investigate what we need to do with Russia. So it made me question, what exactly was this guy? Is he like some mole in the campaign? Could be. Had no experience in foreign policy, but he's running the foreign policy of the government at this point. So it looks like it could be a setup, but Donald Trump didn't bite. Actually, the Trump campaign and White House cooperated fully with these investigations. And we discovered exactly what we knew back in March when WAPO published their article. There's no collusion with the Russians that occurred with the Trump team. But what I find most hysterical is the left believes that Papadopoulos' testimony is going to end Donald Trump's presidency. So here's some of their propaganda. They said this: if Trump can't convince the public that Papadopoulos was a nobody, they'd at least like people to believe that his repeated efforts to set up a meeting between the campaign and the Russian government were rebuffed by senior Trump officials. For example, an attorney for Sam Clovis, the campaign's national co-chair, suggested he was just being polite when he encouraged Papadopoulos to meet with Russian officials, and that was actually trying to brush him off. So they're saying it's an excuse. Then they say, but an email from Papadopoulos included in the court filings made public on Monday suggests someone in the Trump camp may have actually okayed a meeting between campaign officials and the Russian government. So they said Per Bloomberg, writing to a Russian contact a week before the Republican National Convention, Papadopoulos proposed a meeting for August or September in the UK that would include, quote, my national chairman and maybe one other foreign policy advisor and members of Putin's office and the Russian foreign ministry. It's been approved by our side, Papadopoulos wrote. Well, now we get the truth. In Papadopoulos' own documents, he says the Trumps nor anybody in the administration ever gave me any indication they wanted to meet with the Russians. Nobody did. It's 14 pages of sworn testimony that the left have hung over the head of Donald Trump like it's an anvil waiting to fall on him, and it's a feather. And they made it sound like it's such a big deal. So here's my point. Every time they talk, they say, we've had these indictments. We've got Flynn, we've got Manafort, we've got Papadopoulos. Papadopoulos, a zero. Manafort, more closely tied to the Podestas, and we'll get to that here in a bit, than he is to the Trumps, even though he was a Trump's campaign manager for a minute. And we've got Flynn, who they got information on him through illegal wiretapping and FISA stuff that's now pointing back to Obama. They got nothing, folks. Welcome 2018, the year that the Democrats sink their ship and America is going to toast their demise with a shot of Stolichnaya vodka. We'll be back in just a bit. Keep it here.
Kevin Jackson on the Black Sphere Radio Network.
Do you owe back taxes to the IRS or state? The secret to avoiding the IRS nightmare is to seek professional representation. My friends at Security Tax Associates provide the most cost-effective and ethical representation in the industry while helping to avoid seizures, levies, and wage garnishments. Security Tax Associates is here to ensure that the appropriate steps are taken to permanently eliminate any possibility of future tax burdens once and for all. For a free, no-obligation consultation, contact Security Tax Associates, 844-779-4177. That's 844-779-4177. 844-779-4177. Or visit them at securitytaxassociates.com.
Putting an end to identity politics. This is the Kevin Jackson Radio Show.
Welcome back, everybody. Kevin Jackson here. I was just thinking, I love when if you ever think about the left and how they operate, and you say to yourself, you know, what's happening? What's interrupted their flow? So let me give you an example. The Podestas. I remember when all this stuff was hitting the fan and John Podesta was on TV and he looked like he was in the shank of the evening. You didn't, hey, this stuff is really, not good news, blah, blah, blah. Trump did this, that, and the other. And it was a business as usual interview on MSNBC or CNN. I was just flipping channels. It wasn't on Fox. I know that. And I didn't watch it. It was a clip of an interview. And he's trying to, do the party line. Everything's good to go. Well, then we found out that they did the Uranium One deal that we were never supposed to find out about. And so when I last heard of the Podestas, it was in October. I'm talking about visually saw them. It was in October of 2017, and they were knee deep in quicksand. But I haven't heard anything since. So we've got November, all of December. We're in the new year. 2 months, Clinton stuff floating around like crazy, and I haven't heard a thing. And I was wondering why not. If the two brothers are smart, they volunteered for witness protection so they wouldn't face the wrath of the Clintons. But what's ironic about this whole thing is one of the last times the Podestas were in the news had to do with John Podesta referencing a conspiracy to tie him to the Russians. Yeah, this is what The Hill wrote back in October of 2017. Former Hillary Clinton campaign chairman John Podesta said on Tuesday that he was the victim of a big lie campaign created by President Trump. Now, I'm going to stop there for a second. Donald Trump said that the Russians might be colluding with Hillary, and he said it, and he said, get their emails. And we got WikiLeaks emails that did showcase that Podesta had some conversations going, but Donald Trump said it because they had said something to him like, because remember, Trump said something along the lines of, I wouldn't mind working with Putin. There it is. He wants to work with the communists, the Russians, Putin. He's an evil player. Look at this. Look at what Donald Trump said. And they blew it out of proportion. This was around the September, October timeframe when the left started realizing we might not win. Go back and look at your timeline for this. Somewhere along the line, they said, just in case we don't win, we need an insurance policy. So they started tying Donald Trump to Russia just in mentioning it. He wants to get along with Putin. He and Putin are much the same. He admires Putin. And it was stories along those lines. You can go look them up. You don't need me to do that for you and read it to you. But that's what happened. Now, October of 2017, Trump's been in office now almost a year. It was on the 31st, I believe. Then John Podesta then says, they're setting me up, trying to tie me to the Russians. Let me tell you what he was doing. He was trying to run interference to say, I don't have anything to do with the Russians. You believe me, it's a setup, because he knew exactly the truth. He was doing something with the Russians. And I'll get to that in just a second. It says this was an actual tweet. Not bad enough that I was a victim of a massive cybercrime directed by the Russian president. Keep in mind, Barack Obama said the Russians couldn't do this, whatever we said. Supposedly, Hillary's server couldn't be hacked. That's what came out of the FBI testimony by Comey, or Hillary's testimony about my system hadn't been hacked. And now we find out, oh, maybe it was. Then he says, I'm the victim of a big lie campaign by the American president because now the cake was hitting the fan. Sweet irony, folks. It appears that President Trump wants to know now, where's Podesta? And I'm reading this from Western Journalism. They said this. As Special Counsel Robert Mueller's investigation into alleged Russian collusion of the 2016 election continues on, President Trump has one big question on his mind. Whatever happened to Podesta? They closed their firm. This is a tweet. An interview Trump did. They closed their firm. They left in disgrace. The whole thing. You've never heard anything. And this is an interview with the Times. He reiterated his stance that and this is Donald Trump saying, Mueller's going to be okay. I think he'll be fair. Trump knows something about Mueller. I don't know what it is, but he knows something about him because he's given him his leeway. But here's what he went on to say. He expressed curiosity and frustration because his question was, Podesta has escaped scrutiny since stepping down from the firm he founded. Now, let's remember what Podesta did. Because his activities mimicked those of the former campaign manager of Paul Manafort, which I was telling you guys this earlier. But he mimicked Manafort before Manafort was part of the Trump team. And in fact, Manafort is more closely tied to the Podestas, ergo the Clintons, than he is Trump in the area of the investigation that Mueller's looking into. Now, Politico points this out. Manafort had a long history of lobbying foreign entities. He led a public relations campaign for a nonprofit called the European Center for a Modern Ukraine. Similarly, the Podesta Group took part in promoting Ukraine in the United States, paid to do public relations work. So these two were hat in hand, working together, probably put a deal together. Now, I'll tell you this right now. I don't even care about that. If a government wants to do business with us, somebody's going to represent that government. If it's the Podesta Group or if it's the Trump Group, I don't really care. But what I do care about is when they try to plant a false narrative on Donald Trump and his team, when in fact it was these guys that were even more crooked than just trying to introduce Ukraine business interests into America and vice versa. These people were selling uranium to Russians, getting kickbacks of 7, 8, and 9 figures. Hillary Clinton's Clinton Foundation got $143 million. Podesta, they say, got $20 million. I don't know what Manafort got, but he didn't do it for his good health and good looks. So that's what bugs me. So when the Russian investigation hit the fan, suddenly the Podestas were making these unorthodox moves. And the next one came right after John, right before John Podesta said, oh, they're going after me, this mean-spirited president, he's doing this. Then all of a sudden, Podesta decides, I'm stepping down. Here was a report from CNN. The biggest story yesterday, the one that has the Dems in a dither, is Podesta running from his firm, tweeted the President of the United States. What we know about crooked Dems is earth-shattering. He and his brother could drain the swamp, which would be yet another campaign promise fulfilled. Fake news week. That's what the president tweeted. And so CNN asked this question. What exactly is President Donald Trump talking about? Podesta? Wait, isn't this the guy who ran Hillary Clinton's campaign? Is this controversy as big a deal as Trump says it is? Start here. Tony Podesta, the guy with the lobbying firm, is the brother of John Podesta, who was chairman of Hillary Clinton's 2016 presidential campaign, chief of staff to then President Bill Clinton, and a major player in the Democrat political and policy circles for decades. As John rose through the ranks of the Democrat politics, Tony was following a similar ascent in the world of political influence, emerging as one of the most powerful Democrat lobbyists and biggest party donors in Washington. And not a peep from either Podesta since. That was November. We're talking October, early November, and nothing. There's been all of November, all of December. We're into the new year. Mueller hasn't said anything. Where are we here? Because I'd like to know. In the most recent piece that I could find, which was in November of 2017, the New York Times wrote this. And now, in a twist with Shakespearean undertones, the two influential Washington brothers have found themselves on opposite sides of the scandals over Russian interference in the 2016 election. John Podesta, more than anyone except Hillary Clinton, was a victim of the Russian cyber assault on allies of her presidential campaign, in which he was a chairman. Emails stolen from his personal Gmail were dribbled out by WikiLeaks last fall, revealing the embarrassing rifts roiling the campaign and Washington's Democratic establishment. And then he's pushed hard for an aggressive investigation of Russia's role in the election. And they go on to talk about his brother. But what I'm telling you is this. Even the New York Times understands something is amiss here. They can't figure it out. Mr. Mueller, they say, subpoenaed the firm and its employees for documents and testimonies related to their work and interviewed roughly half a dozen people about Tony's involvement. So one thing's certain, folks. It's going to be Center News 2018, and both these brothers are going to end up in prison.
He won't stop until he's the top-rated radio talk show host in America.
What kind of weird competitive freak are you?
This is the Kevin Jackson Radio Show. This is the Kevin Jackson Radio Show.
Welcome, everybody. Kevin Jackson here. It's the Kevin Jackson Show, the show where we train. That's right. You are warriors in training, whether you know it or not. I know you like it or you wouldn't be here. You're not masochists. You aren't forced to be here. Nobody's got a gun to your head. Nobody's twisting your arm. Nobody's making you be here. You choose to be here, and you're here because one of two reasons. One, you know what you want, and you want to be around like-minded people, or two, you like what you hear because it bolsters you. It makes you stronger. You feel yourself getting stronger when you hear what I have to say. I'm not talking about me as some sort of sage or savant that tells you, oh, I'm the only person who can tell you this. No, there are many people who can bolster you, but you choose to be here with me, and you could be with others, and they're out there. There are other people who are good at this. but something about me you like. And I like you too. And I'm glad you're here. I love training. I love training with people, and I love training people because, as the saying goes, steel sharpens steel. And we are talking about courage today. The courage for you when you, in November of 2016, punch that button, that little thing, or pull the lever, whatever metaphor you need, that said, I want to change. I want Donald Trump, and I don't care what you think. Now, there are many of you who showed much more courage than others. Some of you were hush-hush about your courage, and you still are. I don't know if I'd call that courage, but others were vocal, like myself. Once the decision was made, Trump was our guy, I was vocal. I didn't care what you. The people tell me all the time, black people, Kevin, you're such a sellout. And I'm like, let me tell you something. It doesn't matter whether I'm with the new Black Panthers or I'm with Hillary Clinton's campaign or I'm at a bus, I'm on a train, or whatever. I proclaimed my support of Donald Trump to anybody who would listen, and I didn't back down. Oh, man, yeah, Hillary, Democrats, whatever. Shut up. Donald Trump's the guy I'm going with, and here's why I'm going with him, and you shouldn't be voting for Hillary. And I said it. I was boisterous about it. You want to know why? Because I don't have fear. That's right. See, life shrinks or expands in proportion to one's courage. If you got the courage to do things, life is going to deal out a lot of things for you because it's going to say, yeah, you know what? I will go sailing down the Nile. I will, skydive or do whatever. I don't have some courage in those types of things. You're never going to see me petting lions. But when it comes to this and what I have to face on a day-to-day basis, see, if I want to go pet a lion, that's a crazy thing I might do one-off. But you know what I got to face every day? I have to face leftists. And I'll be a coward if you put me out in some in Kruger National Park and say, Kevin, go pet that lion. No, I'll watch you. I'll live through you on that one. But you know what I will never be a coward doing? Standing up to a leftist. Never. I can be absolute about it. See, there's another thing about courage for those of you who do have fear. Courage is not the absence of fear necessarily. It's the triumph over it. The brave man is not he who does not feel afraid, but who conquers that fear. Nelson Mandela said that. If you need some help, if you want to have a reference, if you don't want it to be Kevin Jackson telling you all this stuff. See, it's okay for you to feel fear, but you need to overcome it. Because once you overcome it a few times, you learn to discipline the idea that there will be a bit of doubt from time to time. You will confront these emotions that say, I don't know, I'm not quite sure, but you'll overcome them. And eventually, you don't even have them. You're like me. You're a warrior. You get up every day and you say, today is a great day to die. And if this is the day that I die, I will die a warrior's death. And what you'll find about most of the left, they're not warriors. They don't even know how to fight. They're trained drones that do what they're told, and they won't even fight inside of their own thing. We will fight each other. We will, sharpen each other's steel. Kevin, what do you think about this? I'm not sure. You better try. And here's my thoughts, and we figure it out. They won't do it. They're too chicken. They're a bunch of sellouts over there. They don't want to buck the system. It's too profitable or it's too easy. Look, I'm making money in academia. I make $200,000 a year to shut my mouth. Why would I open my mouth? All I got to do is go, show up, get my tenure. I can do what I want. And even when they get their tenure, they don't want to rock the boat. In Hollywood, you got all these women watching other women get molested, raped, or whatever else on the casting couch. They don't even know who's behind them. Why bother to look? But the other women don't care. They got theirs. Meryl Streep's a well-known actress. She's got all kinds of awards. She's, the belle of the ball. Every time they want to make a movie, Meryl gets the right of first refusal. Why does she have to care that some young ingenue's got her butt jacked up on Harvey Weinstein's sofa cushion? He doesn't care. Do you think Wackademia cares that young co-eds come there crying, dropping out of school because professor is holding them hostage over their grades or whatever else is going on? You think they care? You think that all the women that talked about working with Matt Lauer and Charlie Rose and Tavis Smiley and all these other leftist pukes You think they care? They got their jobs. They got access. They get a chance to date the next time or whatever. Fat salaries, all the perks. You don't, trust me, they don't care. The women's movement cares about women. Yeah, as much as they care about chinchillas. It's a lie. It's all they are. They're a bunch of cowards and sellouts. And for the record, black leftists who dare call me and Uncle Tom a step-and fetch-it, coon-butt Negro, you name it, they're the biggest sellouts on the planet. Go to their jobs, kowtow to white men. Yeah, boss. Yes, yes, yes. And then go home and try to be all Nat X. You ain't fooling nobody and won't even know stuff that's going on in the black community. You don't have the guts to say it to somebody because you're afraid. You ain't fooling me. You got no courage. Wouldn't know it if it came up and kicked them in the crotch. You don't develop courage by being happy every day. You develop courage, folks, by surviving through the difficulties of life, through the adversity that you're going to face on a day-to-day basis, and fighting through it. That's how you get courage. When you talk to your kids and you're all, oh, yeah, good try, nice, 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 you are not developing warriors. You are developing pansies. That's what you're developing. Aren't you sick of it? Have you not seen enough? Are you not entertained? I'll go gladiator on you in a minute. Y'all know it too, right? Heck yeah. Stop playing to people. Play to yourself. Play to your convictions. Understand who you are.
This is the Kevin Jackson Radio Show.
Do you owe back taxes to the IRS or state? The secret to avoiding the IRS nightmare is to seek professional representation. My friends at Security Tax Associates provide the most cost-effective and ethical representation in the industry while helping to avoid seizures, levies, and wage garnishments. Security Tax Associates is here to ensure that the appropriate steps are taken to permanently eliminate any possibility of future tax burdens once and for all. For a free, no-obligation consultation, contact Security Tax Associates, 844-779-4177. That's 844-779-4177. 844-779-4177. Or visit them at securitytaxassociates.com.
Beth Cook Moranville, author of Closer Than Your Breath, a book of hope.
Hope, that wonderful, wonderful 4-letter word that you may feel completely out of. I wrote this book to give you great hope. It's not too late. If fetal position is an all too familiar place for you, I understand. If the next 60 seconds are too long, this book is for you. Wherever you are right now, whether you're dealing with divorce or death or sickness, take hope. You are going to make it through this pain. Don't roll your eyes. I've walked this road and I know it. The best is yet to come.
Closer Than Your Breath, a book of hope from author and speaker Beth Cook Moranville, can be found on Amazon.com or Kindle.com. For more information, visit closerthanyourBreath.com or on Facebook at Closer Than Your Breath.
This is the Kevin Jackson Radio Show.
All right, everybody, welcome back. Kevin Jackson here. So there's a big brouhaha with Steve Bannon and President Trump. And here's what I want to say about this, because one of my buddies, and in fact, he's one of the producers of the radio show, a guy named Keith. Keith says to me, Kevin, I can't wait to get your take. Keith knows he said this. I can't wait to get your take on the Bannon-Trump controversy. And here's what you got to understand about Keith. Number one, Keith is an amazing guy. He really is. Great family man. And I don't know how in the world Keith ends up being a leftist and working for me. But we're buddies. And so, we have these open, honest discussions. And in fact, I've gone on Keith's show. We've had these discussions, and it's been riveting radio. But anyway, in his capacity with me, Keith says, Kevin, what's your take on it? And he sends me a note. He says, I think Jared Kushner is going to be hung out to dry, whatever. He's got all these different theories, and it's all based on this leftist ideology. Now, Keith lives in Massachusetts. He's one of our extended producers. And so you have to almost forgive him there because there's a certain amount of groupthink that occurs in Massachusetts that there's just no way around. But there are glimmers of sanity. Now, keep in mind, as I said, great guy, great husband, great father, great son, does just a crazy amount of stuff to help his mom and his family. He's a family guy. There's no reason for Keith to be a leftist. He thinks he's a leftist, but he's not. And so he buys into the nonsense of the left. And look, I get it. He's in the heart of leftism. Next to California, there's no worse place to be, in terms of infected with leftism than Massachusetts. But I'll tell you this, Keith is forced to listen to this show every single day, and some of it has to infuse. Now, it's tough to break down those barriers because it's not like we're having deep conversations about what I'm talking about every single day, but he has to hear the show because he has to produce the show. And so he sends me this thing saying, what do you think's going to happen? What's this thing with Bannon? So let me just explain it to everybody so everybody's clear on what Bannon is. I believe this with all my heart. Bannon played himself up well with his association with Donald Trump. How that came to be, I really don't know, outside of Andrew Breitbart, the Breitbart organization, and the fact that there are some people who market themselves amazingly so. This kid, Shapiro, Ben Shapiro. It's all marketing. Ben's a sharp guy, but they say he's got the #1 digital radio show. I've listened to his show. There's no reason for it to be that way, but that's not to be a slight against him. Tide may not be the best detergent, but they market the heck out of themselves. So kudos to him. I watched Charlie Kirk, a young conservative, working a room once in New York, and I thought to myself, wow, if I had that kind of ability to network, I'd be a billionaire. Charlie's a nice guy, but just being honest, I don't feel like he has the same panache that I have, but I don't have the panache that he has to work a room that way. That's the trade-off. We had one of my producers, Dave's retired, but he told me one time, Dave's one of the best radio producers on the planet. And he said to me one time, Kevin, if I had your drive, I'd be Rush Limbaugh. And it's true. Dave was he did enough to get by. It was just part of his nature. My nature is not to network. My nature is not to go to people and do this. So anyway, a little bit off topic, but you get what I'm saying. So Bannon's one of these guys that apparently marketed and got himself up to the level where he caught Trump's attention, and boom, he worked on the team. And when you don't know what a guy's doing, you think he's really amazing. Now, for me, having met Steve Bannon prior to his association with Trump, at least for anything I knew, I couldn't understand why he chose him. See, I talked to Steve a couple times before this all came to be, and I chronicled one time my second encounter with Steve Bannon. It was at CPAC, and I questioned his conservative creds in that instant. I was like, this guy, the interview we had was not a conservative questioning me. And so I'll talk about that more down the road. But I pegged him as a left-leaning moderate. So when President Trump chose him to be part of the campaign, I was perplexed, to be honest with you. And it made me question Trump because I said, wow, if he's choosing left-leaning moderates, he may not have the conservative creds that I had. And that was part of my reservation, at least initially. Now, like I said before, whoever made it, and I was going to support him. And that's exactly what I did. But I'm refreshed to see that President Trump is nothing like Bannon. Now, Bannon made news with what I consider sort of a career-limiting move with this statement that he just made, saying that in this June 2016 meeting between Donald Jr. and some Russian lawyer, he called it treasonous and unpatriotic. Now, I don't get this. He said, he was interviewing with an author of Michael Wolff, for a book that's coming out. And he says, even if you thought it was not treasonous or unpatriotic or bad, and I happen to think it's all of that, you should have called the FBI immediately. That's ridiculous. So it's going to be in fire and fury inside the Trump White House. And then he went on to say this: they're going to crack Don Jr. like an egg on national TV. That is the biggest crock of nonsense. Look, I'm telling you guys right now, you rest assured, nothing is going to happen to Trump, to Donald Trump Jr., to Jared Kushner, or any of the actual Trump people that we're talking about here. This investigation's gone as far as it has, and I don't know why Bannon would do this. I mean, is that how you sell books? But President Trump fired back at him. And it doesn't get any more scathing than Donald Trump telling Steve Bannon, you better back out of my business. And the note that he sent was just, I mean, you got to see the whole thing. We posted it over at theblacksphere.net. But essentially he says this: he's only in it for himself. And look, if Vegas holds odds on who's going to win this battle, put your money on Donald Trump. Now, the question that came to my mind was, are things not going that well at Breitbart? Because, Bannon got kicked out of GOP heaven. And Breitbart at the time was doing great. It was getting 300 million views a month and whatever else. It was considered one of the top media outlets for conservatives. It surpassed all the others. But something's happened since then. Now, Bannon's been the belle of the ball, and I know this because I was with him in New York, said a quick hello, hey, Steve, how's it going? And, he was mobbed. People are thinking, oh, Steve Bannon. I had somebody call me and say, Kevin, we'd like you to speak at an event. But, hey, could you happen to get Steve Bannon because he can headline? And I was like, I don't know Steve to that degree. The same thing happened to me, by the way, with Glenn Beck, where everybody was like, whoa, Glenn Beck, he's amazing. And a guy called me and says, Kevin, listen, if you can get Glenn Beck, I'll let you MC it. But things like that don't last. Look at Glenn Beck. In a year, I'm telling you right now, Steve Bannon's going to be an outlier. But if you want my take on it, Bannon's wrong.
This is the Kevin Jackson Radio Show. This is the Kevin Jackson Radio Show.
Welcome back, everybody. Kevin Jackson. It's the Kevin Jackson Show. KJRadio.com, 844-551-8255. Hope you will give us a call. Let us know what your thoughts are. We got a lot to talk about. We've talked about a lot today. Focus has been on courage. The very reason why President Donald Trump has accomplished so much, the very reason why Donald Trump threw his hat in the ring to become president of the United States and saying, I can do that better than other people, is because everything leading up to the moment where he took that, where he got sworn into office was built on courage, was built on the idea that, you know what? You can talk about my past all you want. I'm not going to be concerned about it. Yeah, I've been divorced. So what? Yeah, I've been bankrupt. So what? I can do this job better than that sucker that was in office before me. I guarantee you that. And in fact, Donald Trump said this. He says, I'll be the best president you've ever had. He said that. And I remember me personally going, wow, man, what a bold statement. And I'd be lying if I didn't say that's quite a bit of an ego that guy has. But you know why I'm happy that he said it? I can look at it in retrospect, is because he meant it. He looked at the job other people did and he says, you know what? I can do that better than them. Many of you said that. You say it about me when I'm on TV. Many people write to me, Kevin, that was great. I love your segment on Fox, but next time you need to say this. You think you can do it better, and maybe you can. I challenge you, do it. Do it. I have no monopoly on the best thing to say on Fox. I listen to people all the time. My buddy Dan Bongino, Sheriff Clark, many others, Larry Elder. I say, man, that was amazing what they said. I send them tweets and go, great job on Fox. You sounded great. I couldn't have added a thing. They listen to me. We're mutual admiration society. But you know the difference between us and you? We're doing it. And Trump said he could do it. I've said it. I'll put it to you this way. I know for a fact I would have been a heads and shoulders better president than Barack Obama, but that ain't a bar too high to jump over. You could just step over that. You could wheel your wheelchair over that bar. It's an easy bar to get over. Why has Donald Trump accomplished so much? It's because he has the courage of his convictions. Unquestionably the best year one presidency in modern history. Perhaps history. And it isn't even over. We have a couple more weeks, 3 weeks, 2 or 3 weeks before it's officially over. And they do the tally. I heard 2.1 million jobs created. That's what I heard. It was 1.7 before, but here's what I can tell you. The black dude, he lost 5 million in the same time frame. I'm looking at all the indicators, and I'm not talking about the fake indicators, the things that can ebb and flow and go up and down and at the whims of all kinds of stuff. It's particularly very wealthy people who want to manipulate the system. I'm talking about the stuff you can touch and feel. I'm talking about that job you're looking for. I'm talking about that person you know who's finally gotten that job and feeling a sense of empowerment because they're back employed. That's why Trump accomplished so much. He knows that feeling. He knows what it feels like when you achieve, when you go out and do something and that you get. Remember when you got your first paycheck? Do y'all remember y'all got your first paycheck? Do you remember? Not from me, in general. I'll never forget when I got my first paycheck. I was like, whoa, what the heck is this FICA crap? But I was happy that I had worked and I knew the number of hours and I knew how much my check was supposed to be. And it was less. And then I got to questioning. But it felt good. Let me tell you, folks, an education happened in 2016 on November the 8th. And then you had one of the best years of your life. If it wasn't financially or whatever, it was biorhythmically. In other words, you felt good. You might not have made more money. You might not have had the best job. The kids, maybe didn't do what they were supposed to do, and mama didn't, whatever. But whatever was going on in your life in 2016, it felt good in 2017. Even your worst felt good in 2017. In 2018, it's going to be better than that. Because you're going to start to now kick that other stuff into gear. Whether it's the job, whether it's your relationships, some of them you jettisoned. Some of them you said, I don't even care about if you contact me anymore. I don't care if I talk to you again. I don't need you. God tells you clean up people out of your life too. Clean up things out of your life. Get rid of clutter because it's all vapor. It doesn't matter anyway. What matters is you find that little bit of happiness. You find that thing, that purpose for yourself while you're here, that deeper meaning. Because you're going to graduate to something different. Oh, they call it death, but it's not death. It would be different. Let me tell you why I can approach death differently. I don't think of death as death. I think of death as another rebirth. So why am I worried? I'm cool. There's a bigger mission for us, but we're serving that mission right now. Why has Trump accomplished so much? Let me tell you what 2018 is going to bring you. It's going to bring you the end of snowflakes. It's no longer going to be in fashion to be a snowflake, to be somebody that gets triggered using that word all the time. Oh my gosh, Kevin. It's like Marie Barf. Every time I sit next to that woman, something triggers her. I'm just waiting to pull the race card on her. Y'all watch out number one these days. You'll see I'm going to pull the race card. What? Oh, Lord, did she just call me? What? I'm going to allude to something crazy. You know what what 2018 has gotten rid of? 2017 it made the end of the war on women. There is no more war on women. Well, at least not from our side. Well, did I say war on women? War on women. Not from our side, man. You know what 2018 put it into? Black thuggery. You're not going to have us endorsing black thugs that go out hurting people all the time and saying things like, oh, well, he just needs a daddy, or he just needs a job, or whatever. It's the end of it. We're done with it. And on that subject, we're done with the targeting of law enforcement. My movie's coming out, bleedingbluemovie.com. Go check it out. Go check out the trailer. We're going to be doing screenings of that movie this year. In fact, we're going to do a screening hopefully this month. Worst case scenario, February. The movie's going to be out in March. You want to be a part of it, contact us, kjradio.com. Help us set up a screening. 2018 is getting rid of a lot of stuff, folks. We won't be glorifying illegals. We won't be allowing illegals like Zareta to come into this country illegally, multiple times be deported, or should have been, sit in what's called a fake sanctuary city, shoot somebody like Catherine Steinle, and get away with it. The end of that happened on November the 8th, 2016, and the process to get rid of it started in 2017, and it will end this year. We will no longer tolerate Muslim terrorists in our midst and people coming into this country to do us harm, those that are already here doing us harm, and we just ignore it. And we sit through a lecture of how we need to be more tolerant as Americans. That ship has sailed. And on that point, we're going to be looking at Islam, and we're going to say to the American people, this is not a religion. This is a cult. This is antithetical to anything religious, and it is also antithetical to the American way of life. And we will not allow it to flourish and expand in our country. And we're going to also get rid of the excuses that people use for failure. Grow up, liberal, and I'm talking to the leftists now. You're going to grow up and you're going to learn that everybody fails. And part of failure is a training for success. And the more you fail, the better that you're going to be in success. That's just the facts. They always talk about Bernie Sanders. He failed and failed and failed. The problem with Bernie Sanders is he didn't fail enough. He kept waiting for people to pick him up. And there were people around him picking him up. Stop picking up your kids. Stop picking up the people at your job. Let them fail. And then help them as they start to mature through it. That's what we should be doing. There are no more excuses for failure. There are no more excuses for leftist bullies, folks. The form of sexual harassers or the brain-dead morons who still support Barack Obama. We're done with them. I'm not going to look at these people and try to give them excuses for why they exist. If you believe Barack Obama was a good president, you are a brain-dead moron any more than you believe Hollywood is not full of bullies, that you believe Wackadamia is not full of bullies, that you believe the media industrial complex is not full of bullies. They're all full of bullies, sexual deviants, perverts, pedophiles, cop-hating, anti-American, anti-military people, and you want us to look at them and go, oh, wow, you're all good, really good folks. You're nothing but a bunch of losers. In 2018, we are done with you. And I'm done with you on behalf of people. I don't know where that falls with a lot of you, because is this a lecture? Am I preaching? I don't care. Think of it what you want. I'm telling you what I'm done with, and I bet you got a lot to add to that. Give us a call, 844-551-8255. I'd like to know.
Kevin Jackson on the Black Sphere Radio Network.
Do you owe back taxes to the IRS or state? The secret to avoiding the IRS nightmare is to seek professional representation. My friends at Security Tax Associates provide the most cost-effective and ethical representation in the industry while helping to avoid seizures, levies, and wage garnishments. Security Tax Associates is here to ensure that the appropriate steps are taken to permanently eliminate any possibility of future tax burdens once and for all. For a free, no-obligation consultation, contact Security Tax Associates, 844-779-4177. That's 844-779-4177. 844-779-4177. Or visit them at securitytaxassociates.com.
putting an end to identity politics. This is the Kevin Jackson Radio Show.
What's up, everybody? Kevin Jackson here. The theme for our show today has been courage. And I've been talking about courage in all of its aspects. Donald Trump's courage on taxes, his courage to run for president. I've talked about how the left pretends to have courage going into the 2018 midterms. By the way, Happy New Year. Every time I say 2018, I just want to say Happy New Year. But they fake courage of going into the midterms with some sort of momentum. I defy you to tell me where that momentum exists. The courage that it's going to take Comey, and I'm going to use him as an example. He presents this courage that he's Mr. I ran it by the book, when in fact he knows this year he's going to prison. The courage for us to have stayed the course when the left tried to tell us, oh, this Russian investigation is going to do this, and Donald Trump, and look at Michael Flynn and Papadopoulos and Manafort and all that. And what's happened? You stayed the course, and you said you're not going to sell me on the concept of some nonsense that probably could have been sold had it been Ted Cruz or one of these other candidates that we had. It didn't work because you've gained courage. I asked the question, where are those crooked front men for Hillary Clinton, the Podestas, earlier in the broadcast? Where are the Podesta brothers? Mueller's now looking into their organization, which shut down abruptly. Where's the courage of the Clintons? Where's Hillary Clinton? Have you heard a peep out of her in 2018? What about Bill? Yeah, tell me who? Susan Rice? You think she's going to prop her head up? It's whack-a-mole whenever these people pop their heads up. And you want to know why? It's because you showed courage. Courage is what it takes to stand up and speak. But I'll tell you something else. It's what it takes to sit down and listen, to understand what's going on with the other side. And you've done that. You've listened to the other side for decades, and you can still make no sense of it. So you finally decided, I'm going to stand up and I'm going to say something. Now, my question to you is, are you going to do that throughout 2018? Are you going to let the silence of what you do go into the November election cycle, or are you going to start speaking up? When are you going to gain the courage to stop hiding in the shadows and to let people know, I voted for Trump. Now I'm proud to tell you. Because he's certainly given you enough ammunition. There's another thing that you should understand about courage and confidence. If you have no confidence in yourself, you're twice defeated in life. That's right. Because you'll die a coward's death. I'm just telling you, folks, there's a lot going on in these little messages inside of the things that are big. The small messages are the ones that you need to be looking for. There's a guy who once said this. He says he was talking about assumptions. And the reason why I say this is because the left makes lots of assumptions. And he said this. He said, find the courage to ask questions and to express what you really want. Communicate with others as clearly as you can to avoid misunderstandings, sadness, and drama. With this one agreement, you can completely transform your life. Now, I tell you this for a couple reasons. One, being able to listen. Trump does that very well. Not making assumptions. Trump does that very well. And so do you. You meet people. We all do. We meet people and we go, yeah, I get it. You know, he looks like he's all tattooed up or whatever. And, you know, people might be quick to say, oh, he's this or that. We want to figure it out. But the reason why we're winning and the reason why we will continue to win is because we are always looking for the righteousness of it. No political agenda per se. It might seem political to the people on the other side of it, but it isn't a political agenda. We're looking for fairness as it truly is defined, not this pseudo fairness that says bring in illegals, and even though it's unfair on citizens, that's okay because we want their vote. See, if bringing in illegals meant that we were going to improve America, what we would do is we'd say, look, we've got laws. We understand we can't do that, but let's do this legal system and try to get these guys in quicker because we need them to build the railroads or to build big buildings or, to pick our beans. I don't care. We would gladly accept that, but we're not going to accept the other thing. Anyway, there's a saying, men make history, not the other way around. And the follow-on to it is, in a time when there's no leadership, society stands still. Progress occurs, folks, when courageous people act. And that's the only time you're going to find progress, is when somebody has the nerve to say, I'll buck the system. And that's where we find ourselves at right now. And let me give you another little tidbit. And this was Billy Graham said this, and I just remember feeling so empowered by it, but it's true. He said, courage is contagious. When a brave man takes a stand, the spine of others are often stiffened. And I could go into that in glorious detail, because I know many of you have had your spine stiffened, and we actually joked about it when we would do our little commercials and little cuts. They call them bumps. Here's the net. Donald Trump's done more in his first year while being obstructed than Obama did in 8 years while being undeservedly praised, unanimous. I mean, just across the board in terms of leftism. And they don't want to recognize this. And I find that incredible. I want to move on. I want to talk about Pakistan, because Donald Trump cut aid to Pakistan. I think, did we talk about this? We cut like $255 million that we were giving to Pakistan. And it reminded me of the show we did on truisms. And there's a truism called "Don't bite the hand that feeds you." But Pakistan bit America's hand, and they've been biting our hand for decades. But unlike these other hapless presidents, particularly Barack Obama, President Trump said, we're no longer going to feed the dog. Now, $255 million, that's like a rounding error to the U.S. budget. But still, it's a big amount of money to Pakistan. I didn't bother to look up their GDP, but it's a significant amount of money. Now, when he cut this, Pakistan decided to call it blackmail. And here's what they said, according to the BBC. They dismissed as blackmail Donald Trump's threat to cut U.S. aid over what he called an unwillingness to negotiate with Israel. A spokesman for President Mahmoud Abbas insisted Jerusalem was not for sale, a reference to Mr. Trump's recognition of the city as a capital of Israel. Mr. Abbas was not against negotiations, he said, but they had to be based on, quote, international laws and resolutions. So they dismiss it as it's blackmail. Let me tell you, it will happen. He will cut that funding the same way he'll cut the UN's funding. And what I said when he made the announcement originally was the war on terror is no longer going to be fought by the United States, nor will we finance it. And why should we? I mean, these are the people that claim they want to help us. Look, we're the shining city on the hill as far as the world is concerned. People may be mad when I say that, but it's just a fact. If you're emulating to be us, if your people would gladly forsake your country and come to America, maybe you ought to take a listen. So the courage that it takes for Donald Trump to say, not only are we going to stand with Israel, we're going to take your money away and you can do what you want. We're not worried about what you do in the way of terror. We used to justify sending these clowns money because we said, oh, well, they help us fight terror. They don't help us fight terror. They use our money to finance terror. So it's like me giving you $100. If $10 goes to fighting something and 90 goes to not doing it, to actually promoting what you're against, what does it matter? And that's essentially where we were. And here's what they said. The United States does not plan to spend the $255 million in fiscal 2016 in foreign military financing for Pakistan at this time. The president has made it clear that the United States expects Pakistan to take decisive action against terrorists and militants on its soil, and that Pakistan actions in support of Southeast Asia's strategy will ultimately determine the trajectory of our relationship, including future security assistance. And he's talking about Israel being able to do what it does in managing the Middle East. It's more than time we took a stance. And Pakistan, you can call it whatever you want. Call it blackmail. This is a warning not to Pakistan. It's a warning to every country in the world that takes America's funding and claims they want to help us. You want to help, you're going to take $1 from us, you're going to live up to it. No longer will you get away with this type of nonsense. I got to leave it there.
He won't stop until he's the top-rated radio talk show host in America.
What kind of weird competitive freak are you?
This is the Kevin Jackson Radio Show.